Now, he's unusual. He got his license in like almost less than 2 weeks. But I think his first check was like $300. Then aren't people going to say, oh, there's money being made here? But if you say, oh, we just got this training from this great cap guy, who's like this postal worker, like really messed up postal worker guy, but now he like is with his grandchildren. See, they don't care about that story. They care about it once they get in, but when people are with you in the beginning, they're saying this, if I give you an hour of my time, am I going to make some money? So you got to answer that form and telling little stories. That's what you should be. You know, I would be in your office asking all these questions. See, I'd be telling his story, but I tell it to more people than you, and I could beat you. Because I tell 100 people, I say, you know, there's this guy Michael, and I say, like, this is unusual, but his check was over $1,000. Because I know that number one, people are going to, you have to answer this question for them. Money's being made here. Number two, they got to say that these are good people and these are good products. And you know what? That's why I say, look, we can do anything financially, but let me tell you about this one product. And I, you know, it used to be the VUL, now I'd explain the GIUL that way. But I wouldn't say the word GIUL. Did you guys here say IUL or GIUL? I just heard two different answers. So most of you say GIUL or IUL? IUL. Okay. You know, I've never sold an IUL, but I could sell 100 of them today. You know why? Because I know how to sell the dream of a product. Write that in your notes. That came from heaven for someone in the room right here. Because most people try to sell GIULs or IULs, and they're not selling many. But the people that know how to sell the dream of the IUL, they're making $500,000 a year. See, the people that are recruiting to a part-time financial services company, their recruiting numbers are very low. But the people that are selling the dream of WFG, they're recruiting people like this. It's a carburetor adjustment. You guys don't know how close you are. I'm like so excited. You know, I told PM, I got to bed about 4:30 last night. You know why? Because I was excited about knowing I was going to be able to come to your office. Because I know that they tell you the same thing I'm telling you, but I'm saying it in a different voice. See what I mean? You're not hearing anything differently, but you know, I always think of our mind like a Rubik's Cube. Right? Like, you ever notice a Rubik's Cube, it's real hard, but then all of a sudden you flip one, you go like that? Well, sometimes you need an outside voice to just say something, and then all of a sudden you can receive more. That's why you gotta, don't get in your people's way. You know what I mean? When you keep having your team, let's say you've got 10 people on your team, and you're always talking to them all the time. They're tired of you talking all the time. Find some sideline that you can trust and just say, hey, can you take 5 minutes to talk to my team? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? You know, Jeff Levitan just told me recently, he said, Greg, you know what I like about you? You never forced me in anything. You gave me the freedom to build my own business, but that's why I wanted to follow you too. Because Hubert Humphrey never did that to me either. Hubert Humphrey told me, don't ever tell someone exactly what to do. Just paint the picture what it's supposed to look like, and they'll figure it out. And that's a hard thing in life to learn. But people are that way. You know what George Patton said, the great general from World War II? He said, you never tell a soldier what to do. You just do exactly what a good soldier does, and they'll figure out what to do. Does that make sense? Yep. You know, Winston Churchill, the great World War II hero, from England, you know what he said? He said, you know what, I love to learn, but I don't really like being taught. See, that's a lot about human. Right there, when I tell you sentences like that, that's powerful in there. See, like my granddaughter is a good example. Why is she able to sing? Because we don't try to teach her stuff. You see what I mean? People don't like to learn. They like to learn, but they don't like to be taught. And we just got to understand human nature. See, people like to figure things out for themselves. So, like for example, when I took Jeff Levitan to one convention, you know, he was probably making like $100,000 a year, right? So some guy from Idaho comes up and goes like, look, Jeff, this was my check for $56,000. You're doing that thing with Cap and all those meetings. We just write up the big ticket items in Idaho. So then Jeff comes up to me and he goes like, oh, Greg, I appreciate all you've done for me. You know, you're a postal worker, you know, I have like a degree, and, you know, I'm going to go to Chicago now. I'm just going to go get the, I'm just going to write up big sales. You know what I said to him? I didn't argue with him. I said, Jeff, this is your own company, and you can build a company inside of a company. Now, I wasn't taught to do that, but if that's what you want to do, I'm okay with that. But as we walked along, I happened to see Rich Daldy. So I said, hey, Jeff, why don't you tell Rich you're right? Does anyone know what Rich said? Boom, bada boom, boom, boom. What are you thinking about? But I didn't stop there because I saw Swan. So I said, hey, Jeff, you should tell Swan your idea. He was worse than Rich. But you know what? That didn't change him. But you see how I know how to play good cop, bad cop? And then you know what? I let a couple people beat him up, and I swear, about a month later, we were driving from San Francisco to Monterey, and we had a convertible. And Jeff went like this. I figured this thing out. It's just a huge, big numbers thing. And I said, Jeff, you picked that up pretty quick. See how I'm saying? Because if you keep telling someone what they're supposed to do, they're going to resent it. Does that make sense to anybody in the room?
Yeah.
But everybody's got different styles. Swan's kind of like that, and he makes a lot more money than me, so. But I think I'm happier than Swan. I'm just kidding.
That's enemies.
I just learned, you see, Hubert Humphrey was a great mentor because he was all about people. He'd say, Greg, 90% of your success is going to be you becoming a student of human nature and understanding people. And I kept saying, like, isn't this a financial business? See, because I was so worried about what I didn't know. Like, yeah, but I got to know this, and then I got to know this, you know, because when someone says, what are the internal fees inside your mutual funds? Then you go like, oh, that's an excellent question. You know, I normally, right, that's how we get. And so when Hubert said this business is 90% people, I'm so glad that a wealthy man told me that when I was broke, because I would have thought I was in a financial business. Here's another good story. I already quit, but Hubert told me I had a car. Because I quit and I wasn't going to tell him, and he must have known. So he said, and this old Cutlass that hardly worked. And I drove from Milwaukee to Atlanta, and I was already quitting on my way down there because I had one teammate with me in the car. And so when I got to the thing, I was way in the back because I didn't want to connect with anybody. And then they were teaching on annuities. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting a migraine. And so I know how to get out of church, right? So I slipped out on my robe. Hubert was way in the front. I was way in the back. I slipped out with this guy. I went like this, and I saw a pair of shoes right there. And I looked up, and it's Hubert Humphrey. To this day, I still don't know how he got from there all the way to there, right? And he went like this. Said, well, where are you going? I said, Hubert. I don't even know what this guy's talking about. I'm getting like a headache. And he said, Greg, this business is 90% understanding human nature, and you're good at that. And then he went like this. Look at my socks. Which is weird, right? And he said, and one was blue and one was black. He goes like this. Do you think a guy that can't even get a pair of socks on properly? He said, don't you think you could do this too? And then you think to yourself, did he put them socks on like that on purpose? Those socks brought me back into business. But are you seeing that it's the understanding, because human nature, you know, since I've been in business, I've had 7 different upline leaders. Right, because first I had Hubert Humphrey. I mean, I had like 7 different ones because there's all even different people that are. Because I'm director of the company, and so I've seen different people run the company. I've seen company change. We've had 3 name changes since I've been here. We have different products that we have here. See, different compensation programs we have here, right? Different bonus structures, right, Eileen? But one thing's never changed since I've been here. Human nature never changes, ever. And you see, my little grandchildren now. My daughter makes $100,000 a year working in a salon. You know why? Because she's all about human nature. They said, watch that Becky Cap. When she's with old people, she acts like she's old. And when she's with young people, she's a hip-hopper. Right? If they got kids, she talks about her kids. You see? And they were like, how does she? Because she learned from her parents. It's all about people. You know, my grandson Josh, when he goes to conventions, when he was young, I say, Josh, I'll give you $1 for every friend you make here at the casino. Right, at a casino, right? And he goes like, and I said, but it can't be any WFG people. He went like, no. I gave him like $48 that time. Wow. And I said, you got to know their name, and you got to know something about them. Because you know what? If you think about it, shouldn't our kids be taught how to make friends?
Yeah.
But they teach them all this other stuff in school. They don't teach them how to make friends. Then we come into the business, right? Did you ever notice people somewhere that's the highest educated, but they're uncomfortable around people?
Yeah.
And so I know that, you know, because my grandson, he's 14, and he knows when he's 18, he's going to business with his grandpa. Because he wants them big trophies. And he says, I know what I know who knows what I don't know, with his grandpa. That's all I need to do is just make friends and get the phone number to grandpa. See what I mean? And he'll learn the lesson later. But why do I do that with him? You know, when he goes on a pier in Naples, he's a good fisherman, he'll just say like so, catching any fish, the old man ignores him. He goes like this, you catch any fish? He ignores him. Hey, you catch any fish? The guy goes, I'm catching fish. What are you catching? Oh, white fish? He said, what do you use it for bait? All of a sudden I see the guy giving him a couple baits, right? Then he goes like, you catch any fish? No. You catch any fish? You don't talk to him? You catch any fish? He starts talking to him. By the end of the day, Josh has made 5 good friends on Naples Pier. But he doesn't remember those other people because he thinks that rejection is an illusion, which it is, unless we... Do you know that rejection's an illusion unless you make it something real? But our little kids have been taught rejection's an illusion. It's a big numbers thing. Then my grandson knows how to tap root. So I said, when you make friends with this person, you don't just make friends with this person, you get to meet all their friends. So he met this guy who introduced him to this kid. This kid's dad is an NBA ref. And he's taking Josh to a Miami Heat game this year. See, then he met another friend who knew a kid that he introduced to that knew this kid, and this kid's dad owns a race car, and he took Josh to Arizona, and Josh was in the pit at that race. See, my grandkid knows how to tap root. Because isn't it true? You don't just make friends with one person, you get to meet their friends. And then you filter people out. I said, Josh, look at your granny and I. We have a lot of friends, and some of them are acquaintances, and some of them are close, but then there's some that we really trust, just a few. I said, so life is like that. You make lots of friends. If someone burns me and my wife, you know what I say?